Many homeowners are curious about why there are such large discrepancies among prices that they get from contractors. So let's say you need a retaining wall or a patio, and you call three contractors or more. You think, I'm doing my due diligence. I want to just see what's out there and who's doing what. And I don't know how you vet your contractors, but a lot of times, at least the one big repetitive comment that I hear is about pricing. Your price is too high, or this guy's going to do it for $1,000 less, or I got that. You're telling me 20,000. I got it for 3,000. I don't know who these other contractors are, so I have no idea. I can only base on our price is based on the specific factors of your job and what things cost. And I had another video where I talked about the cost of materials, the cost of machinery, trucks, labor. Most of those things are the same. Nobody has any special secret discounts on these things. So if our costs are all relatively the same, then where does this large price discrepancy come from? Well, this is a local next door posting that I came across. And this is one way that people get tripped up. If somebody saw this coming, I don't think they would engage in business with someone like this, but I've heard this story more than once. So it starts out, never do business with blank. They purchased their house. They wanted to add a deck, exterior doors, hired them, and they wanted to build it with Trex. Okay, and Trex is going to be more pricey than using just regular lumber. This person gave them an estimate, this contractor, but went 8,000 plus over the estimate. He had us pay for materials, so that cost was not included in the contract. During the job, he was constantly asking for my credit card, claiming he needed more and more materials. The deck is totally uneven at all edges, posts and stairs. Stair rails are badly offset. And also, he said the estimate didn't include stair risers, and they had to purchase more Trex for those. But instead of getting bullnose planks, he pieced together deck planks using nail gun instead of screws. And things started to come apart. They complained. He said he'd come back to screw them down. He never did. He once came to get his tools, never returned to fix it. Most of the posts are slightly turned and hang over the edges. The exterior doors were okay. They left multiple nails, and they weren't all the way hammered. And it's pushing the ceiling of the doors out, and they don't close properly. He also lost parts to the storm door. They had him install a ring motion lights, and they're not working. Totally unprofessional, disorganized. He took advantage of our kindness. So there is a lot to unpack here. I wanted to focus on the pricing piece, but I just feel like these are all kind of interconnected. So this is a bait and switch. We replaced some driveway walls for a homeowner who had previously entered into a contract with somebody who gave them a price of $7,000. And then when they came back and were talking about the work and about to get started, some of the things that she thought were included, that was her impression, weren't, and he was going to tack on more charges. So thankfully, she was able to get her deposit back and then contracted with us. The price was, I think the job was about $11,000. She's not going to have to do it again. And there were no surprises. If there are underground utilities in the way, some pipes, something like that, a concrete footer maybe that wasn't expected that's really deep. But if this guy's doing an above ground deck, if other than the post going in the ground, maybe where they connect to the back of the house, I don't know. I don't want to minimize a deck necessarily, but he didn't account for everything that he needed. So now, once all this project is started, and you have a homeowner who is relying on you to get everything done right and put it back together, now somebody's being held hostage by this contractor because, okay, I want this finished. He's telling me it's going to cost a lot more. That's a huge discrepancy, over $8,000. So the price that you get initially, the whole summary of this, the price you get initially, make sure that that really is the project price. Sometimes contractors will lure a homeowner in with the promise of a cheap price, and then things like this happen. Everything's torn up. Okay, we need more. And now in your mind, you're thinking, okay, well, I need this job finished. I don't want to leave it hanging open. So yeah. And then before you know it, all these charges start adding up. He asked for the credit card. Please don't ever give somebody your credit card. And then, didn't do the job properly anyway. So it's, maybe he just really, honest to goodness, didn't know what it was going to cost and drastically underestimated materials. So that's a possibility. Maybe it was on purpose. I don't know. So you really have to be cautious with what you're about to enter into in an agreement with a contractor. The rest of these examples I have are from a Facebook group that I belong in, all industry specific people. And they're from all over the country. And this is one of the most asked questions in the group. What are you guys charging a square foot for pavers? I know everyone's different, but I'm in Connecticut. Next one. What would one reasonably expect to pay? I know there is a range depending on location for 12 by 12 concrete slab 4 inches deep for a hot tub. The concrete would have to be with wheelbarrows and about 100 feet from the curb. Could someone tell me what a per foot price for laying flagstone is going for? How do you guys quote a patio and seating wall? 20 feet total, and goes on about the square feet, where he's at, how many guys he has, limited access, he can only use a small machine, nothing else will fit. So all of those ones leading up to this were people asking, how do I charge for this job that I'm doing? So they're asking about, like, okay, I have 2 guys. Well, what's your labor rate? How much in materials do you need? Like he said, it's specific to your area to a point, but you have to know all those costs and be able to roll that into your price. Just account for all of the costs. What are your costs? That's the price. So, these are people bidding projects, just because these specific guys are around the country. There are tons of guys doing it this way. Here's this question too. What's up with 3 times for bidding? So if you aren't familiar with this, there are contractors who will just take the cost of their materials. They'll figure out the materials and then they'll just triple that. And that's the project price. So doing, 33% for materials, it could work for some jobs. You're going to get burned on other jobs. If it's a really expensive material, so like some pavers are $3.40 a square foot. Some pavers are $14 a square foot. They're going to get installed on the same base and everything, the same jointing sand. But if I take and triple the price for that $14 paver patio, I'm going to be way over because those pavers don't require that much more effort to install or any other materials than those $3 pavers. So what's the downside? He's asking, can the bid come in too low or too high? It's no way to figure out overhead, tight quarters, and hourly rate. Why? And this guy, I think, he's just putting out a general question. Whether he actually bids like this or not, I don't know. But one of the answers that caught my eye was, you can't lose. Absolutely, you could lose. You could win, but you could lose. So, but either way, it's inaccurate. Another question, what's a good square foot price for doing a hardscape retaining wall? Having trouble finding a good number to use as a basis for finding a price. Well, you have to use the numbers you have in front of you. What do you pay your guys? What does equipment cost? What do the materials cost? How much of that material do you need? What are your delivery costs? Question for people who do estimates by the square foot. How do you figure out your labor and overhead per square foot? Your overhead's all your, office stuff, your things like that. Is there a formula? Like, I'm trying to cut down my turnaround on estimates. So this is, okay, that's not the last one. What's a good price to charge for seat walls, retaining walls, columns? I know the price for regular pavers. I'm not sure if it's square foot or something else. Again, someone else who doesn't know their prices. Currently installing retaining walls, starting to do patios. What's everyone charging per square foot? I installed plenty, but I never for my own business. So it's common for guys to strike out on their own after working for somebody else. You would think on one hand, that's great. They have experience. That's if the experience was doing it the right way. And now they've decided that they're ready to go out on their own, and they really aren't sure of how to price it or what they're doing in terms of the business end of things. So all that being said, there are wide price discrepancies because there are a lot of people that don't know how to properly price. Many landscape businesses fail before they hit the 5-year mark. Most small businesses in general don't make it that far. The turnover is high. Landscaping, the green industry, hardscapes, whatever you want to call it, is the second most failed industry behind restaurants. There are people that know how to do the work and don't know how to price it. There are people that don't know how to do the work and don't know how to price it. And then there are people who know how to do the work and how to price it. When you go with the cheap price, you are assuming a lot of risk. If you're getting prices for a patio and you have one guy that's willing to do it for $3,000 and everyone else is probably in the $10,000 to $12,000 range, that cheap person, there's a reason why they are so much lower. It probably comes down to a lack of experience, a lack of know-how, and they could just be learning on your project. If you're willing to take a chance on somebody and they're being totally upfront and honest, hey, I haven't done this before. I just really want to get into patios and I'm going to give you a price break because this is my first one or, my second one, that's a different story. But if somebody's coming in confidently, presenting themselves as a professional, that they know what they're doing, they know how to do it, and they know how to charge for it, and you're being misled, then you may get into a situation that needs to be fixed. Things that happen are some contractors will do really cheap work, not realize what they're doing, and then they're just going to disappear one day and be out of business. Sometimes they realize, hey, if they are doing good work, but they're not charging enough, I'm not making money, I can't even cover my costs, then they may start to get their costs more in line with where they should be for the work that they're doing. Or you have a situation where somebody wakes up in the middle of a project and it occurs to them that they're hemorrhaging money, that there's too many costs and they're not accounting for them. And if they're not asking you for more money to cover this stuff, then they're just going to bail on the job. What happens when somebody bails on a job and you're stuck panicked because you have this excavated yard ready for a patio that maybe they put some base in? If you call a contractor like us, we're not going to install on their base because I don't know what's under there. We're going to start over again. So now it's not just that savings you thought you were getting that went away. Now it's actually costing more because you have to get somebody in here who knows what they're doing to correct the mistakes. All right. So if you have questions, please let me know. Please choose your contractors wisely. If we don't get a job because we're up against somebody else who is of comparable skill level, that's a different story. If we are up against somebody who has absolutely no idea what they're doing and they're going to do a shoddy work, it's really tough to see homeowners be taken advantage of in that situation and throw their money away.